Boys are back in town, the boys are back in town. It's the big guy with Tev and Ty, and we are up to episode 20. Let's get a round of applause there for the boys. 20 episodes in, what a journey it's been so far. It's been an amazing ride. Thank you, Ty, for having me along, along the way. And just to give you guys some personal accomplishments for us, we've reached over 3,000 views on our YouTube channel, and also the reach that we've managed to have worldwide has been absolutely humbling. We have people from the United States, South Africa, United Kingdom, Thailand, India, Germany, Russia, Australia, Philippines, Canada, Netherlands, Indonesia, Malaysia, Sweden, Singapore, the UAE, Argentina, and Austria. Man, we are like Pitbull, Mr. Worldwide. Absolutely out there. And I can't say thank you enough to everyone that's been part of the journey. It's been great. Once again, we have a jam-packed show for you guys, and you know by now that we start things off with a really fun fact. So I'm going to kick us off with the fact. It's one that is probably quite obvious, but I had to think and ponder on this a bit in realizing it, that you've never seen your own face in real life. You've only had an account of it through photos and reflections. And it's one of those that make you stand back and think, so how accurate is this, I guess, reflection or version of me that I've been able to see in the mirror or in photos? Like,
wow.
I'm sure you've built up an idea of what you look like through photos, through selfie camera and mirrors. And do you see how many times it's changed? Like, my face in a photo doesn't look the same as what I'd see in the mirror.
Okay.
As an example.
Okay. When you first said that fact, and just so the listeners know, we don't discuss this beforehand. This is all, we just talk about it here. But when you just said that fact, I'm like, obviously, but then you really start to think about it, and it's like, like the philosophicalness. Is that even the phrase? The philosophy philosophicalness. My God, the philosophy of it, like, is actually so deep. Like, because really, it's like how I don't know if you've like read this or heard this, but you know, like how what you see in the mirror is very much based on your perception of yourself, the mind frame that you're in, your mood, and all those things. So when you said like how accurate can it be, I was like, oh, it has to be accurate. Surely it has to be accurate. But then you really stop and you think, and it's like, but is it accurate? And is anyone like, does that mean that somebody that's looking at you has the most accurate view of what you look like?
I think so, I think so. So the person that probably sees you the most, be it your life partner, your family, your friend, whatever it is, has the best idea of what you really look like.
But just like on a physical, shallow level.
Literally.
But I would argue that a stranger that sees you probably sees you more accurately than your partner does, because your partner's perception is shaped by your experiences that you're having as well. You know,
very true. Very true.
You are the most handsome person in the world to Lisa. Well, I hope so. But you know what I mean? Like, I think probably the person who sees you the most accurately in terms of a shallow version might just be a stranger. Like on Naked and Afraid. No, not Naked and Afraid. What's that British show we spoke about where they start on the ankles and they go up, 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 up? You know, that show I'm talking about. Yeah. So the viewers on that have the most accurate representation of what you look like.
That is so true. And how does that make you feel, man?
I guess if you really just stop and think about it, it can get like confusing and all these things. But yeah, it's like I just kind of try and remind myself, like when I look in the mirror, like, you know, try not to be too critical. Although at the same time, you also want to like progress, right? So it's like you look at it. So yeah, I don't know how it makes me feel. It's actually super deep. I thought, fun fact, like I wasn't ready for this.
And if you thought that was one way to kick off a show next, this last week we've seen the release of what is probably the craziest movie I've ever come across. There's a release of the title Cocaine Bear, which essentially is a story inspired by true events about a bear, a black bear in the States that consumed, let me get this right, exactly how much cocaine this bear ingested. So it began in the 1980s, where a 175-pound black bear's body was discovered in the mountains of Chattahoochee National Forest, about 80 miles north of Atlanta, Georgia, and just south of the Tennessee border, near to a duffel bag, and 40 packages of cocaine had been ripped open and scattered across a hillside. The cocaine had fallen from the skies 3 months earlier, courtesy of a former narcotics investigator and Army paratrooper turned drug smuggler, Andrew Thornton. And he had intended to parachute down from a small plane over Knoxville, Tennessee, but ended up falling to his death.
Oh, jeez.
So, wearing night vision goggles and bulletproof vests and carrying guns and knives, according to reports at the time, his body was found in a neighborhood driveway, and his unmanned airplane crashed into a mountain in North Carolina about an hour later.
Sure.
So,
that's deep.
Man, where do we even start with this? If you thought you had fears about encountering a wild animal, now it's an animal fueled by cocaine.
Yeah.
What?
So when I first saw this movie come out, and I actually mentioned to you, but they pushing this movie on the basketball channels, like on TNT. Like I was saying to you, it'll be like the Los Angeles Lakers versus the Celtics is proudly brought to you by Cocaine Bear. And I'm like, okay. And you can even hear the commentator saying it with like almost tongue in cheek, like he can't take himself seriously, like saying it,
Yeah.
but it's his job, so he must. So when I first heard about this movie, I was like, Sharknado. I was thinking those kinds of movies, if you know what I mean. But now you're telling me that it was a true story, but obviously they've exaggerated, because this bear like terrorizes them, right? Like they campers in the movie or something.
Bear goes on a complete rampage of the town.
But in real life, he just died of an overdose. The bear.
I think the real accounts. The animal had been dead for 4 weeks by the time it was discovered.
Okay.
Ended up eating several $1 million worth of the drug, and its stomach was packed to the brim. Each of the 40 packages was believed to be contained 1 kilogram of cocaine.
Okay.
So
is it a comedy? What's the genre of this?
I think
film?
there is almost like a action comedy,
like a without a paddle kind of.
Yes, that's.
Okay, wait. Look, I mean,
like
I'm not rushing. I don't even know where it's released. I'm not rushing to watch the film. You interested in it?
I saw the trailer, and as just a popcorn flick, I think I'd go and watch it. Just to take your mind off
time. You got too much
everything,
time, bro.
just literally have a brain fart of an experience.
Okay, let me know.
I'd be up for that. And with that being said, previously we had spoken about animals that you think you could take on in a fight, and this was one of the options that came up, a bear. So would you rather face a cocaine induced bear, or what was the other one? A cocaine induced lion? If you had to face off either of those two,
a cocaine-induced bear or a cocaine-induced lion
would be the better opposition. You are in.
Like, are we in a house? Where? Are we in a jungle? In the safari?
In a log cabin. Let's say you're in a log cabin.
I'm in a log cabin, and this animal is inside the log cabin with me.
As you wake up one day, about to get your day started, there's a crash at the front door. You go to investigate. As you see in the doorway, there is either a cocaine-induced lion or cocaine-induced bear.
I think I would take the bear, and because if we're in a log cabin, my logic is, if we're in a log cabin, we're working in tight spaces. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not a big log cabin, so like. And lions are nimble. I mean, they're cats, bro. So like, it's got more of like a chance of catching me, like if I'm trying to run away or dodge, because I'm not facing up. We're not squaring up. No matter which of these two animals, I'm not like thinking I'm going to kill it.
I'm not
I'm
going to
trying
take it on.
survive. I'm trying to survive, right? And I can't see a scenario where I'll be nimble enough to get away from a cocaine-induced lion, where I think I might be able to do something.
Against
Although
the bear.
bears, though. But yeah, I'll stick to my answer. Yeah, a cocaine-induced bear. What do you fight?
I think that's the right answer. Like you say, lions are quite nimble and quick. Quick on their feet, man. Where bears, I think it would take them slightly longer to get going. So I'm going to take my chances, try get out a window or something.
Yeah.
Hopefully find some help on the long way. But
Can
that's that. Yeah.
Can you think of another animal being induced on a substance that you wouldn't want to fight or you wouldn't want to be having to deal with?
I probably said that I could take on some dogs, but if you're saying like a Doberman on cocaine,
but worst case. But I'm asking, like, what's your scariest? Like, not which one do you could.
Actually, come to think about it, if I'm dropped in the middle of the ocean and there's a great white shark that's high on cocaine, they already swim fast. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a frenzy. I'm out.
Okay.
I'm out.
Okay.
I'm done.
I mean,
I think that's a lot worse than like.
I think the one thing that does count in your favor is that normally you don't have much of an appetite when you're on cocaine. I'm not sure about the logic with animals, but you know what I'm saying? I think that might be the one thing that might be. I would say, for me, I'm thinking, do you remember there was a drug that came out in Cape Town? Now, I don't think it was Tuk. I think it was something else that came out, but it was making people do crazy things. Like they were running into buses. They were like, it was like a zombie drug. You remember that thing?
I do remember.
It was on carte blanche and everything they were talking about. Like a bath salts kind of situation.
Exactly. Some mixture like HTH was thrown into yeah.
So I'm thinking if they put that like in like a creature that's normally scared of you but dangerous, so like a snake, right? They always say, don't worry, snakes are more scared of you than you are of them. That's what counts in your favor, right? And so, okay, I mean, it's still dangerous, and I'm pretty sure I'm more scared of it than it is of me. But okay, if that's the logic we're going to use, like, imagine it's on something that removes that fear out of it, you know, that just makes it like do shit. So like, imagine like a cobra that's not afraid of you, that's not backing away, that's not backing down. I can't think of a like more scary scenario than like having to deal with that.
I'm done, because what do? Do you just run and hope for the best? Like,
you can't outrun them.
Flipping quick. Like, imagine a black mamba now. What are your chances? Am supposed to try and climb somewhere? Am I supposed to try and fend and attack it?
And climb trees, and they just everything. You see what I'm saying?
A crocodile. I think, actually. Let me put that down. Because crocodiles essentially are dinosaurs. So let's not lie. Those things already.
Okay. Yeah. That's
I think
but they seem lazy. Oh, but now we're talking about them being on
it's on cocaine.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
So,
damn, that was a really great question. Actually, we're sorry to our listeners for not asking that on Instagram. But if you do have anything that you want to add to that conversation, that'll be sick. Damn, that was nice. I like that. There's something I actually wanted to talk to you about on a very different note. Have you seen the game Hogwarts Legacy?
I've heard about it. I've heard.
Okay.
This was almost, I don't know how many years since the last Harry Potter game, which I think was like on PlayStation 2 or something, and it's been like
a minute.
The revelation for the year. People are so overjoyed by the experience.
Yeah, so it's open world, right? It's an open world Harry Potter game. You can kind of choose your own fate. You can basically your character. I don't know if you ever played a game called Fable growing up, but that was also an open world game. And like the more good you did, that would actually, you could see your character would become lighter and lighter. Or if you did bad things in the game, your character actually started growing horns and like got darker and darker throughout the game. So it's very similar in Hogwarts Legacy, through my understanding, is like the decisions you make throughout the game influence like the outcome of your character. So as you can hear, I'm pretty excited about the game, but there's been a thing that's recently come up about J.K. Rowling being transphobic. Don't know if you've heard this, but she's been quite vocal about it as well. And one of the controversies with the game is that they are saying that, and by they I'm talking about, like, I don't want to say activists, but people that are part of the LGBTQ plus community are saying that if you buy Hogwarts Legacy, you are inadvertently, because she gets royalties, you're inadvertently supporting a transphobic person. So I'm sitting here and I'm like, I just want to play the game, and like I don't want to download pirated things onto my pretty expensive laptop. So how do I deal with this?
Bit of a conundrum there for you, man. Like, I guess the question here is, in terms of activism, how effective is this kind of activism?
The idea is that, like, we shouldn't be supporting people that are openly transphobic or homophobic or whatever. We shouldn't actually be, doing that. But I mean, ironically, it's like, not that I'm saying they do, but people like support Nike and they have sweatshops all over the world. So I'm guessing, like, this is where I don't know, like, I don't really understand how to draw the line, like this whole discussion about separating the art from the artist that we've had so many times.
Yeah.
Like, I just actually don't know, like, where, like, I mean, like you said, it's been years since the Harry Potter game, and I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, and like, I enjoy gaming, and like, I don't know why it has to be such a moral conundrum.
I don't know if there is a solution to this. With you being so conflicted, is there?
So the saving grace right now is that I just don't have time. So that's kind of like where it's like it's starting and ending for me right now. Is like I actually don't have time to play a game right now. You know what I'm saying? But like at some point in the not so far future, I might be having a little bit of extra time on my hands. I obviously want to fill it with some productive stuff, but I'm also kind of like, I know like where my life is going, and at some point in the not so far future, I feel like I'll never have time to play games again, and it kind of feels almost poetic to this, or magical, if you will, for this to be one of the last games that I play. And yeah, I just like, sometimes I just feel like the world is so PC that it's like it's so difficult to live, like by any standard, like
you're offending someone
at some point. You know what I'm saying?
At some point,
you know what I'm saying? So
that's true, and I think maybe this is where the accountability partner comes in, someone to bounce these thoughts and these feelings off of, and say, you know what, I have a bit of conflict. I really, really do love Harry Potter, these games, and it's something I don't want to play. However, given that there is evidence to support the transphobic kind of rhetoric that we're receiving from J.K. Rowling, what do you think could be?
Hey man, if I use Katya as my accountability partner here, she's just going to tell me, man, you're stupid, don't play games. That's what she's going to tell me. So I think she kind of did say that to me when I spoke to her about this. Like, we had the conversation, she's like, I'm just humoring you because you shouldn't be playing video games anymore anyway. I was like, well, okay. So I guess I'll take this one to Tev then and ask him what he thinks in our next episode.
I think as a as a lifelong Harry Potter fan, and we're going to try separate artist from art here.
I think that there is a clause, like a royalty clause, like
it
wasn't a buyout. Yeah, it wasn't a buyout. So, and I really wish they had just paid her and bought her out, and some conglomerate somewhere that's probably just as bad was just making money in the back door, like quietly. I really wish it was something as simple as that, But anyway, speaking about accountability.
Ooh.
How are you feeling this week? You got some accountability catch-ups for us?
Some accountability. Yeah, I'm trying to get myself into a lot more business ventures as well. So previously I've spoken about how I want to, and it is ongoing, do a bit more editing and get to grasp with the editing software that we use, DaVinci Resolve. I've shared some of the creative writing and the kind of ideas of what I want to do on the script writing, poems, etc. But on a professional level, I'm kind of looking into a few ventures. So the side hustle seems to be like we're in the age of side hustles being a thing. So in and amongst everyday work, I'm looking to pick up on quite a niche market.
Okay.
It would be in the culinary arts, if you will. That's all I can say for now. As it develops, I think I can give you guys a bit more to bite onto.
It'd be sick is if you put the Big Vibe logo on it. Like that can be our merch. That can be like our merch. People always have caps and hats and stuff like that. And ours can be, we won't say what it is just yet, but ours can be like these culinary related things.
Practical things that you're using every day.
And you're vibing with
I'm
us in the kitchen.
Put a bookmark in that. This is going to come back. And I'm going to let you guys know. We have some ideas that are flowing. So that's my accountability for this week. It's just venturing out into new business prospects. And how about you, man? I see the writing's going really well. I read your latest article on being an Arsenal fan and why it's so cool being an Arsenal fan.
Was it a bit one-dimensional? One like biased? Did it feel biased?
Like, slight bias, but I think it's always going to be biased. It's speaking about your passion for your team, man.
Yeah.
And it was really nice to understand the journey and kind of the roller coaster that you've been on as a fan.
Yeah.
So we're talking Wenger days, we're talking about the change of managers, the kind of change in philosophies and how it's isn't always the easiest thing to kind of buy into the process when things aren't going according to plan, but you're finally in a really good position, not only league table wise, but we're talking manager wise, philosophy wise, and then you made the really key fact about the fan engagement and how fans feel closer to the team now because there's more of a buy-in. And you've given quite a few examples of that. I won't give out too much, but you guys need to go
read it.
Just Another Backpack. Really good article, and then his previous one about the roles that people serve in your lives and why that's okay. Also a very good evergreen read.
So yeah, thanks. This week I haven't been writing as much. I do have an idea for the next one, but my accountability this week, and I just want to say to the listeners, like, this may seem like a weird thing that Tev and I do with this accountability thing, but we actually were just discussing how it's actually nice to sit and think about something that you have achieved in the past week and to talk about it with someone. And we do this kind of for each other and for ourselves. And we hope that people that are listening can do the same thing. Like, just, even if you're not thinking about what we've done, just stop and think about one good thing that you've done this week or the one thing that you feel proud of, because I guarantee you will be able to think of something. And it's just really nice because I think we forget that we achieve a lot. So my accountability thing is that I am starting Italian lessons this week. So
ciao.
Buongiorno, I speak Italian. So that'll be happening this week. And I'm pretty stoked to take the leap. Obviously, Katia's family is Italian, and that is something that she wishes to pass. She's been doing Italian lessons for quite a while now. And it's something that she wishes to pass on to, whatever our family looks like one day. And it's something that I think we should be doing together. And that's the kind of fun reason, I guess. And then on the other hand, if you marry an Italian citizen, 3 years after you register your marriage, you can apply for a European passport, but you have to do a Italian test, and it's like a B2 level, the equivalent. So it's a pretty far, it's like pretty fluent in terms of that. So I'm working towards that, and I always think it's a good thing to learn a new language. So that's my accountability for the week.
That's actually so cool. And how are you learning this? Is this in person with someone, or are you learning like a Duolingo app first, and then you progress onto the in-person tutor?
Funny enough, it's going to link to our next topic, but I'm doing it online, like with an online tutor that I see once a week. Katya's been seeing the same tutor, and I found her on the platform called Preply or Preply. I think it's Preply, I guess you would say. Okay. And obviously you have to do more than just one lesson a week. So I am coupling it up with Duolingo, but I also have a textbook. Look, I don't have so much time to jump into it that deeply at this point. So I'm just trying to hit the daily Duolingo, and then we'll see how the lessons go this week. But she's also going to give me homework and stuff, I understand. So yeah, it's
Very
an
nice,
online
man.
tutor thing.
Very nice. Wishing you the best. We look
Cheers.
to hearing about this. Maybe you can educate us a bit once you're feeling comfortable.
Gotcha.
And speaking about education, life, work, I came across, I think everyone's either heard about it or is currently putting it in practice, but the 4-day work week.
Yeah.
Time and time again, we always come back to the, I guess, the grievance of having a 5-day work week and only 2 days of a weekend. That seems to flash before our eyes, and next thing we know, Carte Blanche and Derek Watts are on our screens, and that's the real indication that the weekend's over. But with the 4-day work week being implemented in quite a few places, I wanted to find out from you, Ty, what your thoughts are on the 4-day work week. So I know there's a lot of positives to it, which I'll run through shortly. And then I'd like to chat about the cons, if any, that you find from a 4-day work week. So some of the benefits would be happier employees. I think that's the first and most notable one. People want to try and claim their time back in order to, I guess, have a minute to breathe, have a minute to be social, rest, recover, what have you. So that's obviously the first big one. The second being reduced costs. So a 4-day work week cuts costs down for everyone, the company, the employees, be it, I guess, rental, power usage at the office, commute in and out, that kind of thing. The third would be fewer health issues. So according to the article on Breathe, the website, which is an HR website, according to Charity Mind, 1 in 6 of us experience mental health problems in any given week. So having a longer weekend will allow people to spend more time with their friends and family and do things that they love, which will naturally lead to improvement in their well-being. It will also give them an extra lie-in each week, which will help them recharge a little more after a busy week. Makes a lot of sense. And then I think there would be an increase in productivity levels.
Okay.
So that's some of the pros. And then some of the cons that they list here is that it doesn't suit every business model. So unfortunately, a 4-day work week model doesn't support every business. It's an option that's only viable for companies that can readapt their whole business to a new way of working. Longer hours. So obviously, you'd have to add on additional hours to your days. So say it's Monday to Thursday and you normally work a 9 to 5. This could see you working at 8 to 5 or a 7:30 to 6 kind of deal, just so that we account for the day lost. And then I think the other consideration would be your time off or your holiday entitlement. So do we then keep it as is with 25 days a year, or do we now cut that down? And what does that mean for you? So let's just start from the beginning with what your thoughts are on a 4-day work week. Yes, no?
So I think we can thank, was it Henry Ford? I think Henry Ford is the person that introduced Monday to Friday as the working week. So thanks to Henry Ford for that. So what do I think of it? It is something that I think is, it's so difficult for me to think about it as a teacher, because it's like the days for teachers for me already feel pretty long as it is. And if I had to think about extending that day, like let's say, because at the moment you have standards that are set by various governments or curriculums that you have to reach X amount of hours at school to achieve what they determine to be the minimum of what you need to pass, right? So if I were to think that, okay, so we're going to lose 8 hours a week, which means every day is going to be 2 hours longer, I guess my thing is that I think it's possible, but the problem is that I foresee with this kind of thing is how this really needs to be managed exceptionally well. Because it's not just something you can implement. So if I were to give you an example of my school, I'm not so sure my school would be prepared to just do it. Like, they could do it, but it would be so disorganized, and it would take us so long to actually get it running effectively, you know. So you can't just add 2 hours every day to a student's working schedule, for example, or to an employee's working schedule. You actually need to change the whole mindset and the whole structure. Does the lunchtime change then? If you're working at a school, you need to change the periods. Like, maybe you want to introduce something like thematic based learning or something like that. But I think in theory it sounds nice, but I think in like a lot of jobs it will be super difficult to implement. Do you know what I mean? Like, the organizational nightmare of trying to do it, I think would be quite challenging. But it does sound cool, because I think, you know, the world is moving and shifting towards this take your time back. You know, I'm a human being first, and then I'm an employee. Whereas you have the 60s, I guess the boomer generation is very much like work. I don't know what your parents are like, but, you know, my parents is very much like work is exceptionally important. You know, there's a lot more company loyalty, I find, with the generation older than ours. Like, our parents, like, they've been there for 30, 40, 50 years. They've been at the same place. I'm like, what? That's crazy to think, you know. People are chopping and changing. COVID obviously played its part.
Every 3 years.
Often. So, yeah, I guess it sounds cool, and I like the idea of people taking control of their time. It's just something that, you know, really would have to be discussed and strategized and planned, and, you know, everything like that. What about you? What's your overall opinion?
Yeah, I think it is a really important consideration. I do think, like you said, logistically it become quite a nightmare. Like, in your line of work, there's also so much prep time that people don't consider. Planning for lessons, the daily plans, sorting out when it comes to marking and exam time, all of those things in and amongst a PTA meeting or what do you call it, a teacher parent conference or whatever you have it. In and amongst your day, that feels like you'd be working until 8 o'clock minimum if you're taking everything into account, which is insane, because you are still people. And I think that's also then a consideration. Does your pay needs to get adjusted now? So either I guess lower it, because you're doing fewer hours for the people that don't have to add in an additional 2 hours, or do you keep it kind of at the same level that you're at with the additional hours? In theory, like you said, really nice idea. I think people would like a day back into their lives, which I think would probably be used more often than not just for resting. And then you'd have the weekend now to go out and do stuff. So in theory, really nice. I really think it will work in like countries like Finland and Norway and Denmark and Sweden, where they are organized, and they really, that's like prime first world country. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even know if it will work in the UK. You know, I'm talking, it's like I don't think it will run in Australia so well. I'm not so sure America, that capitalist, you know, whatever you want, capitalist jungle, if you want to call it that. Like, I don't know if it will work there. It's not going to work in Thailand. 100% it's not going to work here. In South Africa, you can move on. Like, that's the thing. So it's like, it's cool, but I think where they've started doing it is, I think, in Finland or something, when I heard about it. So it's like, man, that place is not a real country. That place is not a real, this is not real. You look at the education system, you look at all these things, I'm like, this is not a real, this is like Neverland. You know what I'm saying? So it's so progressive, I think. There's so much catching up for the rest of the world to do. And I think in keeping with progression or the evolution of kind of the workspace, I want to find out from you in the teaching profession how you found the entire evolution of teaching. I know pre-COVID, everything was contact, and then we had COVID and lockdown, and that then became online or remote teaching. Now you see students back in class. How have you found the transition, and was there any like benefits to it that you have now integrated into your work life?
So at the time, it was obviously very difficult because it happened so quickly, and in that we didn't have the same amount of time to prepare. for it coming, right?
Yeah.
So it was challenging to do. When I started this current school I'm working at, I actually didn't meet my students for like 5 months or something. Like I taught them online, and that you could feel like, it affects the relationship that you have with them. Like
Yeah.
I got on really well with them when we online and when we got to school, but it really does make a difference. But I will also say that the fact that we had the technology available to be able to do it was pretty amazing. What I did like about it is that it made me progress in terms of like the technology that is available, and I still use a lot of it today. Like Google Classroom is a revelation. Microsoft Teams, similarly, it's actually, it's insane. And, they say necessity is the mother of innovation, right? So you don't know where we would be without it. And there was definitely a need for the classroom to radicalize. I don't know if you've seen that picture, not radicalize, but to revolutionize. I don't know if you've seen that picture of like, they have like a classroom from 50 years ago and then a classroom today, and it basically looks the same. Instead of a chalkboard, it's just a whiteboard, but the setting is the same. The students are still sitting, hands up, same thing. And what COVID did is like, we had to come up with ways, because you can't just teach like this through a camera. Like you really needed to make it engaging. They needed, like in class, you can talk to them and you could actually like monitor them as much as you think you can. Teenagers are sneaky, but you try your best, But when you're working online, where you literally, students are sitting behind a form of entertainment, like that's outside of your class, you really needed to come up with real ways of making it a lot more engaging and hands-on and interactive. So it really revolutionized my teaching style.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I worry about the soft factors that were lost. Like you think about like social aspects and stuff, like especially with the younger students, like what they missed out on. But I overall think, and then there was a weird phase in between where like some students were like just staying at home because their parents were worried, and some kids were just having a laugh and just staying at home. And then it became my duty to have this like hybrid thing in class, and that was the worst. That didn't work. And some kids were taking exams online, and some of them were doing it on person. And I'm like, how is this fair? Like I can't, like But overall, I think it did. It helped. I would say it helped the teaching profession. If you like kind of take a step back and you look beyond just remote teaching, but if you look at what it forced teachers to do within the practice, I think it helped. I do think it helped.
Okay.
And how about you, just in terms of the workspace? I mean, I know you're kind of in the digital marketing workspace, but I mean, working from home, how do you think that's influenced kind of like that space?
Like you said, the social aspect is definitely a part that gets affected quite a lot. I know companies always like to use the word synergy. We have to bring you into the office so there's synergy, and they make it seem like every interaction is going to be this wow think tank moment where Tyler's going to have this amazing idea that you then change the complete trajectory of the company. And it's all good and well to be so idealistic in your thinking, but I think it's important to understand what works for your staff. I think the progression in understanding that monitor time or me seeing you work doesn't equate to good work being done or more work being done.
Yes.
Which I found to be quite an issue or an obstacle in especially the the commercial companies, corporate, in the corporate sector. And I think the working from home has shown that, one, on the plus side, employees are still able to perform at a really good level. Yes, you would get a few dropouts here and then, but overall, there was actually a rise in how much work was being done by employees, which conversely can be a negative, because now you're getting more output from the employee that when you bring them back into the office, there's an expectation that's been cast now. So overall, I think it works well to do a hybrid system. So a few days in and then 1 or 2 days back at home. So for the social aspect, for meetings, because I think there was a definite fatigue from Teams and Zoom meetings, where every day you're waking up to the same alert tone, having
Yeah.
been a part of meetings that don't necessarily have to be a meeting. It could definitely just be an email, but
Yeah.
I think the hybrid model is working really well. And then from a student's point of view, I think personally for me, having been at both ends, so having a contact class and having a full-time degree being taught like that versus distance learning, I can see how much better it is to be in contact, because then you have the ability to form your social study groups, that kind of thing. You have almost accountability partners, if you will, with your peers, which was quite a challenge for me with the remote learnings. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
I know also a challenge that some people, especially in the corporate world, were struggling with was I didn't have the same challenges because I had a timetable that I was following for my students, right? But I know a lot of people in the corporate world. I actually think I remember speaking to you still when you were still working back in South Africa, saying that, and my mom as well, and how timing became a lot more difficult. So where you normally go into the office, you get to work at like whatever, 7, 8 o'clock, let's say. You get in, you make a cup of coffee, you have some synergy with your people, and then you sit down at 9 o'clock, you open your laptop, you log into your emails, and your day starts, right? At home, you get up, you're not really talking to anyone. To be honest, you probably need a little bit of space from your partner because you guys have been locked in the same house for 3 months. So you grab a cup of coffee, you say, I'm going to work now, and you're opening your computer at like 6:30 and you're opening your emails, and that kind of respect for time, my mom, and I think you also expressed like that respect for time also kind of diminished a little bit. Like you'd be getting emails at like 9 o'clock and it's like, you should be replying. You're working from home. What's the problem? Like you're not clocking out. Whereas if you were going to work, nobody expects you to reply to an email after 5 or whatever time you go home. Like, we'll deal with it tomorrow when I see you. But now I'm working from home and you're expecting a 6:30, 7 o'clock email, which is like, but that's not what you're paying for me for. You're paying me for. So I know that was a challenge as well.
You're spot on there. I think the consideration for people's time, I think it became a bit too open-ended. So I understand that it became a time where people could have a lot more time with their families. I think this was the one point in the modern era where you'd see parents getting FaceTime with their kids that they would have ordinarily lost out on.
Yeah.
And
getting involved in their education.
Important as that is, to get to experience these moments, these milestones, getting this day-to-day quality time, we also can't always work around everyone's specific and unique timetable. So we'd have it where a colleague would say at the 2 o'clock meeting that's been happening continuously, say, sorry man, I need to go and either drop off my kid, or I'm taking my kid to the dentist today. Can we reschedule this meeting for 4 o'clock? So where you would have planned your day perfectly, you now have to work things around and almost put yourself at a disadvantage to cater for other people. And that, like you said, that respect for your hours can get blurred because people have this expectation that you're working in the same schedule, the same kind of manner in which they do. So
but it's so funny how
like going to the office to say, cool, I'm out.
Yeah, I'm in and I'm out.
I'll see you tomorrow.
But it's really interesting to see how like the world really does go full circle, literally, and also in the sense of like this kind of thing. Like you're looking at how our conversation now is based on COVID, which hit the world for like 3 years or however long it's been happening for, and how we gone full circle, and now we're starting to talk about 4-day weeks, and we're starting to talk about taking our time back, and we're starting to talk about like that kind of stuff, again, like how necessity breeds innovation, and how, the real progressive and forward-thinking companies are the ones that are not making their employees check in at this time and check out at that time. The real progressive employers are task-based. They are results-based. They are results-oriented businesses. It's not about how long. In fact, you should be aiming to finish things quicker, technically. Not to mean that I must add more tasks, but if I set X amounts of tasks for you in the week, and you finish it by Wednesday, that should be the goal. It shouldn't be like, oh, you finish it, I'm going to add more to make sure you work until Friday. Because then you're going to slow down and you're going to be like, okay, I'll get you this thing on Friday, but I'll be done on Tuesday, but I'm not going to send it to you, right? But it's better for me to get it on Wednesday. So why is it? So it's like, it's just really cool. Like how, it's the same thing. Like I was saying, how the COVID situation influenced educators to progress. It's influenced employers to change. So, yeah, man, it's dope. Yeah. It's actually very cool.
Yeah, this is such an interesting area, and I'm hoping that we get a bit more clarity on it. I guess the implementation is what we're going to really be keeping our eyes out on.
Yes.
And yeah, guys, let us know. Would you be for or against the 4-day work week, knowing what implications it could have on your day-to-day, on you getting a day back, on your remuneration, that kind of thing?
Yeah.
It'd really be interesting to find out what.
And don't just think like every weekend is a long weekend. Really think about the fact that you would have to probably work an extra 2 or 3 hours a day, or take a day, 4 or 5 days worth of pay cuts. So work it out like that and give us some feedback. That'll be cool.
Nice, man. And in keeping with like wholesomeness, we always finish our episodes on something, on a much lighter note. So I came across this really cool story, or very interesting story, about a man. So I'll read the title of it. It's Heinz wants to find the man who survived a month at sea with nothing but ketchup and to buy him a new boat. So to give you guys some context here, Heinz is trying to track down the man who survived for nearly a month at sea with nothing but ketchup. Last month, the Colombian Navy, in coordination with the General Maritime Directorate and the National Aeronaval Service of Panama, rescued a sailor 120 nautical miles northwest of Puerto Bolivar in the Guayara Department of Colombia. The Naval Institution had received information about a sailboat with the words "help" engraved on its hull. The sailor, who's been identified as 47-year-old Elvis Francois, said that his ordeal began in December when currents swept the sailboat out of sea while he was making repairs off the island of St. Martin in the Netherlands Antilles. Francois, who's originally from the island of Dominica, claimed to have survived 24 days adrift in the Caribbean with nothing but ketchup and food seasonings. And I quote, 24 days, no land, nobody to talk to, don't know what to do, don't know where you are. It was rough. At a certain time, I lost hope. I was thinking about my family. I had no food. It was just a bottle of ketchup that was on the boat with some garlic powder and Maggie. I assume those are Maggie 2-minute noodles. Yeah. So I mixed it all up with some water, and that was his food. So now Heinz, the famous ketchup brand, is asking people to help the company find Francois. They put out a post on Instagram and said, whoever is reading this message, we need your help in tracking him down. You would remember Elvis Francois as a brave soldier who fought and survived on nothing but ketchup and spices while adrift at sea for 24 days. We're looking to celebrate his safe return and help him buy a new boat. We're unable to find him. They've then said, don't forget to share this post with all your friends as we can. # find the ketchup boat guy. I thought that was, firstly, an incredible story of how someone could survive at sea. I always think about the movie Open Water, I think it was called, where the guys go scuba diving, they come up after their expedition and their boat has completely left them, and what I would do in a situation like that. Like, I guess quite similar to last week in trying to understand what's your breaking point. How long do you keep going? Especially if now you're in the middle of the ocean, and I think both you and I aren't the happiest in big depths of water.
I don't know, man. I think I'm trying to survive in a zombie apocalypse much longer. Than in that case, I'd come up and I'd just be like, I'd just freak out. I would just panic. I think, like, I don't know, man. I don't know how long it would take me, but it wouldn't take me very long to give up. But I just, like, why are they giving this guy a boat? Surely the last thing he wants to do is go back out at sea. I mean, maybe if it's his job and he has to, but like, it's kind of like, I don't know. But I do see here that they say, I don't know if this is tongue in cheek, but they want to give him a new state-of-the-art boat that will be equipped with full navigational technology to avoid another disaster in the future. I don't know, man. Like,
That's a bit naughty to add in there, man. But
it feels like it. Hey, yeah, but yeah, it's so cool that he survived, man. It's so cool. I couldn't just well up to him for finding it. What happened to everyone else? Did they die? Like on the?
I think
on the boat,
I don't know if
guess?
he was the lone
He was maybe by himself.
member on the ship, and kind of the extent of how big this boat was.
Hey, he's
But,
probably
yeah.
just. I wonder if they found him. We should actually check. I'll check Heinz's Instagram page. They only have 176,000 followers. I thought they would have a bigger Instagram account. But yeah, I'll go check that out. But yeah, that is really wholesome, man. Thanks for sharing that. Hey, he's probably just resting with his family, man.
And just being thankful for the time he's been able to have now. And
For sure.
I think it's a really nice place to leave it. This was a really nice episode.
Yeah, good fun.
Yeah, really interesting to get your views on so many things. And once again, guys, you know where to find us. All our links are below for our social media channels, our audio channels, as well as our website. Don't forget to also click and follow Just Another Backpack. There's so many
Thank
good
you.
stories to read about there, and we'd love to hear your opinions as well on some of the articles that you guys have read and your experiences on
Yeah,
the
for
topics.
sure. And please also just remember, subscribe. If you're still listening 20 episodes in, you can share us along there. Like help us grow. We're having fun doing this. It's not only about, the far reach of like Russia and places like that listening to us, but it is nice when more people listen to us. It really helps us feel, like it's a really cool thing that we're happy to share. So yeah, it costs nothing. Just a like, just a subscribe. If you don't feel like sharing, that's fine. Just a like and subscribe will be good. And yeah, we'll catch you at episode 21. Episode 20 done, boy. Episode 21 up next.
Whew. Now we're doing big things, man. Again, you can see a question this week. Please get involved. And thanks again, guys. We'll see you at the next one.
Catch you later, guys.
Yo.
Bye-bye.